welcome. Episode 153, Deadass Though Podcast in the building. Kel's in the building. Jay in the building. Nisa in the building.
You know.
Another episode.
You know it's your girl.
Real. What's good, y'all? What's good? Where we let's start off with Kanye before this part 2 drop. Were y'all able to watch the whole thing? A good amount of it? Did you just see the clips?
I watched a good
like, what's
amount
going
of it.
on?
I was able to watch a good amount of it. I do feel like his fucking hair was the most distracting thing about the fucking interview. Period. I couldn't get over it.
At least he described why he chose to do that in the interview.
It made sense. Yeah, it really, honestly, everything Kanye says somehow ends up making sense. Even when it doesn't make sense, it makes sense. You feel me? Like, throughout the interview, I feel like he dropped a lot of random, like, knowledge that people wouldn't have, like, you wouldn't have gotten it if you weren't really listening.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's the problem with people when they, like, discuss Kanye, especially this Kanye that goes through a lot and, you know, is up and down in his mental capacity. People don't listen. They hear him, but they're not really listening. Because if you listen to the points that he's making, a lot of the times they're valid. Or they all end up circling back and making a valid point. But people are so busy, because he thinks outside of the box, and a lot of people naturally, myself included a lot of the times, I think inside the box about certain things. And that's why I'm not rich yet. No, I'm kidding. But
Face. You're not
right.
worth $9 billion according to him.
No, but I think that, you know, a lot of people who are successful and in music and just somebody who can continuously keep themselves relevant, their mind is working in a million different ways, whereas a normal person is not thinking like that. So they can't, a lot of times people don't grasp what he's saying because they're just hearing him, but they're not really listening to him or even trying to get the point because it sounds crazy. But crazy people are smart.
Well, he doesn't help it himself by going through like different streams of conscious, which I understand. You can be scatterbrained, whatever the case is. But Jay, you said you just saw a little bit of it. You didn't see the whole thing.
No, I didn't get the opportunity to sit down and dive into this other episode that he's going through. I heard it was interview of the year, of course. With everything going on, I haven't actually sat down, so I've seen snippets. I heard something of him saying like there's so many different yays that he's finding a new way to be yay again, and I kind of understood where he came from on that. But as far as like I just wanted to hear what were the key points and what was it that he was speaking about that got everyone just kind of like, oh yeah, he's crazy, or yeah, he's woke again, or what is it? What's the new connotation of yay? So that's why I was just listening, just to see if I could give some insight on why people think, or why he might think like that, or why society thinks differently of his opinions and vice versa.
Well, he kind of validated what we were saying about the whole Donda rollout, where he realized that he needed to come back the way that, you know, full force, the way we know Kanye can be. You feel me? So he used Donda as an opportunity to come back in and really show us exactly what Ye could do right now. And we definitely saw that. We knew that he was going to take a little departure from, you know, being completely Christian and bringing that old school Kanye back and merge it now with the Christian Kanye and doing all this. But I think one of the main things that I took away from this interview is like he's at a space where, and he's always been like this, but I feel like, you know, with Yeezy doing incredibly, like the brand that is, and him, whether it's 9 billion, 1 billion, whatever, he's worth a lot of bread. Like we can definitely say that. So I think he's just comfortable with just being himself. And he said multiple times, like, yo, I'm gonna be canceled in this interview because boom, boom. He's just really comfortable with saying things that, you know, other people might have a filter on it, but now he's just like, yo, like fuck all that. This is how I operate. You know what I mean? You can either like it or not.
Yeah, that's extremely annoying to hear. Like,
why?
This whole cancel culture shit. The fact that you gotta say it and tell you y'all might be canceled this, man. Honestly, fuck what anybody gotta think about any of that shit. So
yeah,
he shouldn't have to sit there and tell. Like, honestly, like I'm low key kind of fed up with people. Like when they come to the mindset that they have for certain things, like you feel like you gotta validate or say something so absurd just because you feel some type of way. Like if people are really just waiting to cancel people, like honestly, you're a fucking dickhead, and you probably shouldn't just listen to anything. You should just go ahead and just stick with the crowd that just waits for some random stupidity to happen or for someone to speak their mind. I don't know why that shit just irritates me. People just really fucking irritate me.
I think people took advantage of the whole cancel thing because there are certain, like, let's say it really it started a few years back or whatever, that cancel culture really got huge, right? R. Kelly. People were really trying to cancel R. Kelly. I will say I was one of those people that I was like, all right, you feel me? I'm still going, I'm going to play them throwbacks sometimes and the shit hits, but like I was looked at wrong for that. I got actually into a whole argument. I went to a baby shower in where the hell was it? Not Colorado. Where the fuck is damn, anyway, it don't matter. Somewhere cold. I went up there and Ohio. That's where I went. So I went to a baby shower in Ohio and we're all talking and that's when like the R. Kelly shit had really like hit the fan. And they're like, I'm not listening to R. Kelly anymore. And my kids won't hear him. And I was like, I'm not gonna lie, I'm gonna still play R. Kelly. Like, it's not because whatever, it's just I grew up on that music. And like, to me, I cancel you as far as like, I'm not about to buy clothes if you drop clothes or whatever. And I think that you're a fucked up individual. But if it's good music, I'm not gonna lie, I'm gonna play that shit. Like, and it's almost a little bit selfish for myself, but at least I'm being honest and I'm not faking it and saying I'll never listen to R. Kelly and I'm in my car screaming fucking Ignition. Like, I'm not gonna lie, I will still listen to R. Kelly. Like, my bad, bro. I didn't know age, like I didn't know all that shit. I didn't pay attention to it. I was a kid. Cool. But like a lot of people took advantage from that type of like cancellation and just grew and kept going OD. But I will say, like, certain artists, for example, like R. Kelly, should be cut out of things.
Well, yeah, their circumstances are completely different. So when Kanye West is saying, "Oh, this is why I'm gonna get canceled," that shit don't make no fucking sense. It don't.
Well, to me, when he says that, it's because like he speaks about classism. He speaks about so many things in the interview where the higher ups don't want to talk like you to talk like that. You think of the Michael Jacksons when he spoke out against his whole label situation. You feel me? They even try to blackball the king. You feel me? So whenever Kanye goes into that sort of diatribe, I think it's more speaking towards the big companies and his quote unquote peers, because he made it very apparent in this interview that he not like all these artists, like they not on his level. His peers are like the Elon Musks and all them. Like he try to make a point
specifically
to talk
was
his
like,
shit. You feel me?
These motherfuckers ain't in my lane.
So when he says that, the public themselves have quote unquote been trying to cancel him since the whole George Bush shit. You know what I mean? Like George Bush don't like black people, and cancel culture just never like. It just doesn't exist, bro. You feel me? Like you could try your best to like stop certain things.
It's temporary.
But if you continue to push on, you know what I mean, it's gonna be fine. So that's why multiple times, like I said before, he mentioned throughout the interview that he'd be like, yo, like I could walk outside right now and not make it, you feel me? Like they could do whatever they want to do. But at the end of the day, this interview's still gonna come out and y'all are still gonna get, you know, the energy that I bring. He kept on saying, like, you're gonna get like the yayisms, you're gonna get the things that are changing the algorithm. That's something that he said a lot too, Jay. That and to go into like the whole Drake shit real quick, because it's top of mind. I thought it was funny, and we all thought it was funny when we saw that video of him reading from the iPhone. He got Jay Prince right next to him. Everybody joking around that, you know, looked like he kidnapped him and all that. He's reading it against his will. But in this interview, he gave Drake a lot of credit, a lot of love. And I want to revisit something that we said before, like before Certified Lover Boy and Donda came out, that we were like, yo, especially me, I've been seeing the writing on the wall. I'm like, yo, these are two brothers that have been going back and forth behind the scenes for mad long. I'm sure they patched it up and they just doing their regular shit like Kanye and 50 did when like Graduation and I forget what 50's album was, but they went back and forth just for the media. And I feel like that's what Drake and Kanye been doing. And now this is kind of solidifying that for me. Kanye gave him his flowers in there, talked about the Larry Hoover situation. And now they're going to try to have this concert in December. We'll see if that happens. But I say that to say been seeing the writing on the wall for these two motherfuckers to get back together. And it looks like it's going that way, you know.
Mm-hmm.
I'll pray it does. All this unnecessary
Would
shit is
you want to
just
see
gonna
Drake
be-
and Kanye?
Of course. Never want to see like two guys who are on top of the game going at it like
Beefing.
that because both of them are petty kings. You feel me? But Drake is more calculated than Kanye. Kanye will just come straight out and just violate you. When Drake, he'll do like the little sly shit behind the scenes, and motherfuckers is like, oh, okay, like I respect it. But both of them, like they've been going back and forth working on each other's projects, and every time it happens, like it's something good comes out of it. So it'll only help. It'll only benefit the culture. You feel me?
Yeah, I agree. I think that that like beef between two artists that are at the top of the charts or just in general top of like their realm, it sucks because fans literally feel like they have to choose sides. It's weird. Remember when Meek was up. Remember when Meek and Drake started beefing?
Yeah.
Everybody dropped Meek. Like that shit's crazy. I was looked at crazy because I was like, I'm never not gonna be a Meek fan. If I was a Meek fan before, I'm gonna stay a Meek fan. Like that's weird. They
motherfuckers gonna drop Meek for losing to Drake, but they won't drop R. Kelly for his. Y'all gotta pick and choose.
Like pick one, figure it out. But yeah, no, I completely agree. I definitely like. I want to see them together, and I want to see. I like them on good terms.
The competition is fine too. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah,
like,
the competition is fire too. But I mean, Drake in competition mode is extremely, extremely fire. Kanye, yes, and then sometimes it's like, what? What was the one? What was the What song was it that you sent us in the group chat? The link. It was unreleased. It was like a diss track that he was gonna add on to Donda or something.
Oh no, the one. Wait. Oh yeah.
Or it was after.
Well, I sent a couple, but the one you're talking about, yeah, it was the one with Andre 3K.
What? That shit was horrible. Not Andre. Andre can never do wrong, but
that's the one you're talking about, though, right?
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
Yeah, he added the fucking verse at the end, violating Drake, and then apparently when he re-releases, because they're coming out with another deluxe album with Donda, that song's gonna be on there with a different verse, so the Drake diss isn't gonna be on it. So,
okay, good.
But
I didn't like the Drake diss. It was just very much why did you do this?
3000 said he's not gonna keep his vocals on it anymore.
I wouldn't either.
I think we were Andre said that.
Yeah, I think Andre said like I didn't. Well, obviously he didn't expect it to be a diss track. He thought it was just gonna be a beautiful piece between two artists, and just being included into a project. Andre just doesn't come onto anybody's record or mixtape. So I thought after he heard that, he's like, yeah, I don't want to partake in it. So if it's on the deluxe, then shout out to him. But if it's not, I wouldn't be mad.
No, it's definitely going to be on there with a different verse. Because we were big components when the record first came out. Why would you put this sort of content on this track with Andre, knowing how, like you said, Jay, how he picks where he, puts his foot in these days, you feel me? So I think he understood that. Like even Kanye, like apparently he sent like sorry text to Soulja Boy for taking his verse off and shit.
Yo, he apologized.
My bad, bro. He said my bad.
Nah, Soulja Boy has a whole TikTok for that shit.
He said, "What you mean? Whatever come out my mouth is hard." We were like, "Hey, yo, what?"
Nah,
relax. What did you just say?
He said, "You said the verse was hard."
Shit, he going at it with like Key Glock and Young Dolphin. Though he going after your man's now. You peep that? I don't know because he be doing too much. Let's not even talk about it. We're going staying with Kanye. It's ridiculous.
That's funny. I think honestly, I feel like Soulja Boy is just reaching to have to have attention in a way so that people are talking about him. Because honestly, when you're not, if you're in music and your music is not producing, that is one of the ways that you stay relevant is people talking about you. And I think that's one thing that really makes, to me, Kanye very smart because he's unapologetically himself, but in like at a crazy level. Like doesn't think before he speaks sometimes, but he does.
Mm-hmm.
So no matter if the music he drops is fire or not, he's always going to be relevant. Always.
Right.
Because he's always going to be in the news. It's a publicity thing. That's the same like with Drake and him. That's what this shit is probably. You feel me? That's what it seemed like. In the same point that you were making. Like, why beef? Because it's entertaining.
Well, I'm kind of surprised that out of everything that was said in that interview, like whether it's the Big Sean shit, the Just Blaze shit, the like Beans, him owing Beans money and shit like that because he came up with the name Yeezy. I'm surprised that him saying that he got vaccinated. I'm surprised a lot of people weren't talking about that. You feel me? He was like, yo, I'm like, I'm half-vaccinated. I'm half vaccinated right now. I thought with like Aaron Rodgers catching strays and all this shit going crazy in the media that people would have been like, oh, okay, like he actually got vaccinated.
Right.
But now they just like focused on like Big Sean and all that. I was like, okay.
The Big Sean was a real I think that was like one of the clickbaits for everybody was talking about Big Sean. Do you agree or do you disagree? Like, what is your opinion on his whole concept of the Big Sean portion of the interview?
Did you see that? What he said, Jay? Or you missed that too?
No.
Did you see the news though?
No.
Okay.
So he basically I think they were playing that game they play like Quick Time with Slime, and I think he asked him like Pusha T or Big Sean, and he basically, you know, I guess they still had Halloween decorations. He got up and he grabbed like this little tombstone type shit. And he's like, bro, like when I die, put on my tombstone. He said some shit like the biggest mistake I ever made was signing Big Sean. And it was like, what you talking about? So he was basically saying that when he put his, you know, presidential bid to go out there, Big Sean and John Legend, according to him, he felt like the Democrats were using them to like bash his campaign, whatever the case is, and they weren't holding him down. So he saw that as sucker shit. He didn't see that as loyalty. So he's like, yo, I'm not fucking with Big Sean or John Legend right now. Keep in mind, the weekend before, they had pictures at, yo, what's that noise? Whatever that is, stop.
Sorry.
I was like, what the fuck is that? But yeah, keep in mind, the week before, they were at Sunday service together, flicking up, taking pictures shit. So I thought that was sucker shit on his part in the moment. You feel me?
It wasn't the time to say that.
Well, to me, right? Because I thought about it. I'm like, okay, what I just told you, it seems like some sucker shit. But at the end of the day, if that's how he feels, because his mans, he felt didn't hold him down the way he felt like he should. Because he specifically spoke about Sean and Legend. He's like, yo, like, not only did I put money in your pockets, like I jump-started your career type vibe. And it's like, I'm providing you to feed for your families. And when I really needed you, you weren't there. So I'm not fucking with you. So the more I listen to what he said, as opposed to reading like the comments, whatever the case is, I'm like, oh, I can understand why he feels like that. You know what I mean?
Do you fully
I think it's all
that?
about like with people of why you said it was like some sucker shit is how you handle situations. I grew up like the way that you react to shit is the way that people are gonna perceive perceive your character and what you mean. And sometimes when you sit back and explain things a little better or take the higher road in like telling people, okay, they pulled some sucker shit. I mean, he could have sat down and said what he had to say in a different way.
There's no boundaries, bro. You don't got to do that.
There's no boundaries. I know. And that's what that is. But that's what creates that clickbait and makes Kanye look like a bad person when, like you said, you sat back and actually listened and heard and were like paying attention to what he was saying, and it made sense. Like, okay, I feel you. It justified what he did. Not a lot of people are thinking like you. You know,
to
not a lot
answer
of
your
people
question, Jay, real quick.
They're just looking at it like this nigga fake too. How you taking pictures with him last week?
Yeah, it was.
And now you beefing with him because you in an interview.
But to answer your question, Jay, like I don't even know how to feel about it because I don't know the behind the scenes. I didn't see whatever Big Sean did or maybe John Legend did for him to feel that way. So I don't even know if I like can agree or disagree because I don't have no background on it. You feel me? It's just the way that Kanye felt at the time. And of course, Sean, like he tweeted, said what he had to say, and according to them, Big Sean was supposed to be on the day before Kanye got on. Yeah. But Kanye hit him up last minute, like, yo, can I do the show? And Sean dropped out for whatever reason. So Sean is gonna do Drink Champ soon. So we get to hear his side of the story. So
because you know they're gonna touch on it.
Oh, you got to. So, and you think about it, it worked out the best because if Sean would have pulled up before Kanye and then Kanye would have said what he had to say,
they wouldn't have got it.
It wouldn't have got that same vibe. You feel me? So
makes for
it's
great.
weird.
It does
Yeah.
make for interesting content when the same, instead of like Sean going to a different podcast or a different any type of show and someone asking him that question, it's gonna hit completely different because it's the place that it happened at or the people that it happened with are gonna be the people asking the questions.
Yeah,
It's fresh.
absolutely. I think
But
it was no go.
no, you
Hmm.
can continue.
I was saying I saw like Fat Joe, you know, he be doing the like the post fight interviews when it comes to like verses and shit. He did the same shit for this Ye interview. And what Nori said is that he wanted them to go to Calabasas, him and EFN, and they were gonna do it, you know, big Kanye production, you know, all that shit, get the aesthetic right. And both of them were looking at each other like, nah, we do our best work like at home base. They were like, yo, fuck that, come to Miami. So they got him to come to Miami. And I guess like he's doing this whole nomad shit, Jay. He said he doesn't really own a house right now. He just has like whatever he has in his bag. So he just be traveling,
What?
staying different places, but he doesn't have like a home, he said. So Nori was like, yo, bro, like he pulled up and he stood with us for like 2-3 days after, like just vibing with us. Like they were getting food, they went to the mall, they shut the mall down, they went to Balenciaga, they doing all this shit. So Nori was saying, because Fat Joe asked him, so how is he off mic compared to on mic? Is he like with the same vibes? And he's like, bro, it's like being with a fucking mad genius. Because, you know, of course he amps it up for the camera, but at the end of the day, when he's Kanye, he's still Kanye. Like he still goes into his rants, you know, his streams of thought, whatever you want to call it. So I think it's dope that he was able to have this platform because you're not getting this sort of interview with Zane Lowe or Charlemagne. You feel me? This was the
Mm-hmm.
perfect
Yeah.
place for him to go to just let that fly, whether you agree with what he said or not. Like you could just listen back and be like, okay, like I can form my own way of thinking without, you know, going with the regular narrative that's on Twitter or whatever the case is. You feel me?
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Damn, I'm
I did
surprised you don't keep it yet though, Jeff.
what?
Nah, yeah, no, that's my fault. Like too many like outside focuses, too much like instances. But I'm gonna definitely take the time so that way when part two drops, I'm in tune.
I
And
think it was just an interesting interview for you to watch, period, even if there wasn't a part two. I learned, like, I feel like a lot of times when I listen to artists that we respect in a sense, or like mad genius type of artists, you can always learn something
Oh yeah.
from all their interviews. And honestly, the way that, like, basically, he's telling us that he bet on himself always. And
Yeah.
that's why shit's working out for him because he's himself and he bets on himself. That made me be like, you know, shit, like hearing stuff like that and hearing people be like, even though he's a controversial type of artist, I would shit. I respect what he says and listening to him, so it teaches you lessons. So I think
Yeah.
that you should just watch, like, and just anybody in general, people listening to this, you should watch the episode just to learn from him.
yeah, but the thing is, like, I've always resonated with Kanye West on levels um that you just can't put into words to kind of explain, only because of just how my mental works and my little episodes and shit like that, and just the shit I've been through, and just not being able to articulate how you feel and why people perceive you in a certain type of way and shit like that. Like I've
Mm-hmm.
always resonated with Kanye West when it comes to those things, because essentially when they feel some type of way or don't understand him, that's me. Like, who the
Right.
fuck is really understanding me? You know what I'm saying? You hear me. You
Mm-hmm.
always hear me. Like but you don't understand me. I can tell when people fake act like they understand only just to save face, or just tell me you don't. But I could, in the very moment, the very first few sentences, it's like lost. But you're looking. You know what I'm saying? You're hearing me, but you don't understand. So
Yeah,
I
you hear me,
already
but you're
I
not
already
listening.
Right.
yeah, I already knew what Kanye West was on, and when I started just seeing, the just the feed with certain things where people just saying what they feel, like, I'm okay with you saying what you feel, but when you try to push like this specific culture behind it, that's when I
Mm-hmm.
just start getting real disconnected, because I'm like, so you just heard it, you're not listening. So honestly, I think that's probably one of the reasons why I deterred away from it, because I already felt the energy that possibly could come from it. Not saying that, you know, I could possibly be wrong. There's always different ways to see it, or I could be surprised and shit. But I'm not surprised that a lot of people didn't understand him or felt like, oh shit, you know, this is the reason why they're gonna cancel me, because you're feeble-minded to the idea of what I'm saying.
Right.
So, no, I mean, like I said, I understand that. I go about that exact same feeling daily, daily. That's why I've just been like chilling. You feel me? For lack
I
of
mean,
better words.
also it's like what I was telling Nisa earlier. It's like Kanye doesn't do himself any due diligence by like a lot of the times when he tries to express himself, it's just a lot of shit.
Emotion.
You feel me?
Yeah, because it's
Whether
hard. It's
it's
hard, bro.
to me, it's not even just being concise because I understand. Like, I feel like I'm the type of person whenever I'm having a conversation, like I'll have something in my head, but I can hold on to it, so I'll save it for another time. Like him, once it comes here, he kind of has to switch and pivot because it's
Yeah,
off the top of his head. He's like, nah, like I got to get this shit off. But like he
exactly.
doesn't do himself a service because he just lets that shit fly, which is what makes him Kanye. But it also sometimes makes like listening to him tedious. Cause I remember the first time listening, like, yo, what the fuck are you talking about? You feel me? Like I had that reaction because like shout out to EFN and Nori because they just let him be him. Like they
They
just
were
ask
As
clear
laughing.
you should.
questions.
Like
As
they
you should.
literally were just letting
They
him
just let
As
be
you
him
him,
go.
should.
and they were like, "We love this shit."
Yeah, just let him go because that's exactly what you got to do with a Kanye. You feel me? Because he's gonna go on these tangents and shit like that. But at the end of the day, like they'll be talking about, you know, yo, what happened with this Drake shit, and then he'll go from Drake, and then all of a sudden you're all the way down to, like I said before, classism. But then he somehow relates that to the whole Drake situation. So it's like a whole journey. But then you realize this motherfucker's making sense. It's weird, but he's making
He's
sense.
when
You
you
feel
start
me?
listening, he starts
Yeah.
making sense.
That's why, like, I keep on likening it to media and things of that nature because that's exactly how it is today. Where as opposed to you actually opening up the the whole article or whatever, people just go by the headlines or whatever the comments say, which is
Mm-hmm.
cool. That's the time that we're living in, and we all live for the jokes. But at the end of the day, to form an opinion, you got to read the facts, my guy, or you pay attention to the facts. So before you call
Sure.
Kanye crazy or like, yo, he bugging, like he said this about Big Sean. Yeah, but did you hear the shit he said about like Beans and how he owes him everything and how he wants to, you know, become the head of the first $1 trillion company in order to give
Mm-hmm.
back to hip hop so that people like Big Daddy Kane and all these people in hip hop don't have to worry about a damn thing ever because hip hop is what brought Kanye to this point. You feel me? Like you didn't get that part, huh? You know what I mean?
I liked sorry, and I don't mean to interrupt your where you're at, but I wanted to add in on it. The point that you were making, like basically creating something bigger just for hip hop period. He also stated in the interview, Jay, that rappers are like niggas. When
No,
when
he
like
brought up a
big
great point too.
companies call you a rapper, they're calling you a nigga because
Yeah,
everyone's a musician. Like,
or an
why are we not
artist.
called musicians? We're called rappers because it's another word for nigga.
It's
And
true.
that point, I know went over so many people's heads.
OD.
That point was like a
Very good
thousand
point.
percent valid. I
Mm-hmm.
agree with
Yeah,
that.
no, of course.
Like, rap is what you do, but if you're a like somebody who is in rock bands or does like heavy metal, they call them metal artists, metal musicians, things like that, and they'll add like the type of genre, but they do call them artists and musicians and bands and things like that. Like,
Mm-hmm.
the terminology is completely left field from
Of
people in the
course.
rap game, but at the end of the day, they're all musicians. Anybody who makes music is a musician. So why are we not calling them that?
Yeah.
He's just a rapper. What the fuck does that mean? He's a musician, and they're millionaires.
And it's a valid point because we do that in culture and society now. Like people are like, oh, he's just a
Mm-hmm.
rapper, whatever the case is. It's kind of like
Rappers
they
ain't shit
write you
type thing.
off.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
exactly. Like we're not worth to be here to be in a conversation. And what Kanye was saying is that they'll call you a rapper or whatever. So that's your equivalent to calling me a nigger, right? So he was like, I was at whatever game, I forget what game he was at, and they put like hip hop artists under his name, and he's like, yo, you don't know that like I got a doctorate from this art institute in Chicago, which is like one of the biggest, art installations anywhere, you feel me? Like, it's so difficult for y'all to just call us artists, you feel me, as opposed to just a rapper or whatever. Like, don't try to pigeonhole me by just calling me a rapper. Do you understand all the other things that I do and have done in this sphere, like added to the algorithm, as he said? And it's facts, and it doesn't even have to be a rapper, you feel me? You could, like, you think about our culture, people think about like stripper or something like that. Like, you could be a great person, you just happen to strip, you feel me? Once they be like, oh, she's a stripper, whatever the case is, or he a drug dealer, whatever the case is. It's like, yo, like that may be what we do at the time just to like get by, but we're way more than that. You feel me?
For sure. People definitely have like I think that your job doesn't always make you, and a lot of times that's a misconstrued concept. Like, look at Kevin Gates.
Love Kevin Gates.
A lot of people
I love to see his rebirth. I was gonna say rebrand, but it's
right.
rebirth.
But his rebirth or whatever, that's crazy. But he's like a real deal, like heavy in rap game. He's not no like here and there R&B rapper. He's like a gangster rap, well, not whatever his field is technically, but like, and he's a man of God. You feel me? Like he's what is he Muslim?
He's Muslim, yeah.
Yeah. So like he's very much into that. And you wouldn't like, if you think about a rapper and you think about a rapper that has made songs like Kevin Gates or is in that same genre of music, you wouldn't think that.
Yeah.
You wouldn't know.
It's true.
Like,
it's true.
People judge a lot of people.
And to go into that, like, and Kanye's been talking about the classism situation for quite some time. Like, I remember back in Yeezus, he used to like go on these fucking long ass rants just talking about that. But it's true where, you have like overt racism, and then you have people that try to, mask it in a certain way. And that goes towards exactly what he's talking about with that, just calling you a rapper or trying to pigeonhole you in this way. Or the more you climb up the ladder, you see people try to,
keep you where you are.
Down. Yeah.
They don't want to see you at their same level. They want to see you do
about,
okay.
What was it like? His wasn't an accountant or something like that Kanye wanted to do a certain thing, and he had a certain vision for it, and the accountant was like, well, I don't know about that. Let's just focus on this. And he's like, yo, bro, don't try to like put your like false senses of not being able to make it on me. You feel me? Like, that's disrespectful to me. And then he's like, this is why like I scream at these white people and things of that nature, because they do that shit all the time for a reason. You know what I mean? Like, whenever somebody of color comes in, oh, like, you think I can't take it to Elon status? Why can't I? Why can't I be the first head of $1 trillion company? You know what I mean? Like, they try to be like, oh, well, no, you can't do that. What do you mean I can't take myself public? If everything I touch turns to gold, the smartest thing I could do is put myself on the stock market so anybody can buy shares into my brand, because no matter if I go to Louis Vuitton, if I create my own thing, if I go to Gap, whatever the case is, that bitch is thriving. So why can't I go public and be able to forge my own reality and do something different because you think that you can't do it? You feel me?
I was a little bit confused on that like just on the topic of how to do it. And I know you sent us, there was an article that you sent us touching on the fact, who was it who made themselves a stock? What's his name?
I don't want to call him a random guy, but he's somebody that nobody would really know.
Right. Okay. Well,
but he went down the same path.
Right. But I'm trying to figure out
how. Mike something,
like, how did he take it to that level? Like, how do you make yourself a stock, and how do your stock grow? Like, all that stuff is so confusing to me.
I think it just comes down to, like, I don't know how you would get, like, say, listed on NASDAQ and shit, but I think if you have enough supporters, they can basically become shareholders, and you sell them a certain amount of stock. You know what I mean? They buy in, and if from there, depending on where your net worth or whatever the case is goes, I guess that's whether the stock goes up or down. That's just the initial thing from my head. That'll make
I'm
sense.
just trying to figure out how do you sell people your like yourself as a stock? Like it makes the shit was when I read through it, I was like, damn, this motherfucker's smart. I wouldn't even thought about that. It's petty stuff. Like, what am I gonna watch? What am I gonna eat for lunch today? Like, what? But he's making money off all this stuff, and it's like, I'm just confused. How do
What's
y'all even
crazy
start
about
that? Like, do
that
you
to
become
me?
your own LLC, and that's how you do that? Like,
I think you would have to go down that sort of road. But what's interesting to me is that if that type thing, and once again, this gentleman did do it. I need to dive into the whole article because I didn't read the whole thing.
I
But
read the whole thing, and I was like,
what,
yo.
what I think it will be dope is that, since you're technically a publicly traded entity, then your shareholders would technically be able to have certain say in moves that you make. So would that mean that we would have, like, if we bought into Kanye, right? Will we have say in, what, collaborations he's doing, whether with different artists or maybe businesses, whatever the case is? That's where I think it could get super dope from like a shareholder and a fan point of view, that you can
From an
actually,
experience.
yeah, you can actually affect and have some sort of say in his decisions. I think that should be super, super dope. But yeah, that's something we've never heard before.
That would be
And
cool being able to. Sorry.
Mark Merrill is his name, by the way, the guy. You guys go Google him, go check him out.
Like
Mark
Marilyn
Merrill.
Lynch.
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
he got money.
Yeah, well, now if you take yourself public, I can imagine.
Yeah, I mean,
But
that's Bank of America's like corporational financial.
oh,
Like
I don't know if it's like it's spelled that way, but I don't know if that's the same
oh,
lineage.
you don't know
Does
if
that
it's
make
Marilyn
sense?
Lynch. Okay, I was gonna say because
Yeah,
I'm like,
I
they're
don't
like a
think.
whole banking institute.
Yeah,
If he's
don't
the
think
forefront of that,
yeah,
he got money.
at least I don't think. But
Okay.
but what I was saying is that these are the kind of conversations that he was saying that, oh, they don't want you to know this shit, because I'm sure he's probably had multiple conversations behind the scenes with people who are much higher than the people that we rub shoulders with, that stuff like this has come up. So now that the game is out there, that this is a possibility, you feel me? Maybe they're like, oh, all right, Kanye doing a little too much. You got to relax, bro. Because if this shit is something that can be done, it's something that we've never heard before, we've never heard discussed before, and it actually happens, that even puts more stock into Kanye. That puts more battery into Kanye's back, because he's like, yo, I done told y'all that this is how this shit works, and it happened. And it, you know what I mean? So if we just follow the breadcrumbs and listen to what people are saying, as opposed to just writing them off as crazy or having another episode or whatever the case is, there are gems. There's bullshit. Don't get me wrong. There's bullshit, but there are gems being
Within the
dropped by
bullshit.
people who have been up there. Yeah.
For sure. I definitely agree. I actually wanted to transition into a conversation that I wanted to ask Jay specifically. So I'm gonna pivot. But we spoke about, cancel culture and things like that. I wanted to know, and just speaking on how Kanye said he would be canceled for the interview and shit that he was saying in the interview. So recently, we know the whole Astroworld incident. Did you watch all the backlash, Jay? Because I know you're a Travis Scott fan.
I've seen a lot, if that makes sense. I've seen just about everything, almost, unless there's something new. I don't know.
Right. No, I'm there is nothing new, I'm telling you. But I think that, do you feel like this type of cancellation would be held for him?
Cancellation?
Yeah, they're definitely trying to cancel Travis Scott.
Of course,
he got dropped by McDonald's. He got dropped by half of his sponsors.
Yeah, that whole situation is just real messy. For once, I didn't really form too much of an opinion because I was not there, and I feel for the people who were injured. I'm very empathetic because, in my field, I deal with people who literally get resuscitated on the daily, boom, boom, boom. So I'm not going to sit here and put myself in a position where I say something ignorant, because I'm not an ignorant individual. So I just want to put that out there that I'm very empathetic to it. At the same time, it's like I wasn't there, so I don't know exactly what happened. I've seen plenty of videos. I've seen people recording people getting resuscitated. I'm recording. They're showing people just carelessly, aimlessly trying to push through 50, 60,000 people to get towards somebody that there's no way in hell you're gonna get through your body to body. So you're technically injuring and, well, in the instance that we know, killing people just to get somewhere. In 30 minutes it's over. And in 30 minutes trying to push and do what you're doing, you kill somebody. And then I've seen instances where people are on the top where production is, where cameras are being shown and screaming like, yo, people are dying, blah say blah, words were exchanged, and they got booed off by people because they wanted to continue to hear the artist. So in a sense, it's just like I was way too focused on the insensitive, I can't even put it in words, the type of description I'm giving to these individuals who didn't care to feel the people underneath their shoes. So I'm not too much really focused on Travis Scott in a sense. I mean, granted, yeah, the whole situation should have been handled way differently. Production should, well, whomever it is, the the venue or the people who own the fairground or the ground themselves, and just authorities, and just not being able to hold it in control and being able to, like, all right, I can pull the plug on this because you're using my area to do etc., to then base it off an artist who normally, when they do festivals and stuff, people do pass out. There's a lot of things that's unfortunate. People are drug induced. Sometimes it's too hot. You're shoulder to shoulder, literally body to body with people who are jumping, breathing. There's not enough, water to go around to everybody. So yeah, there's instances where sometimes the performer sees somebody pass out. He has out at sometimes in the previous times called out like, hey, that person passed out, get that person out of here. And it just so happens that this is the most like unfortunate of scenarios. And they said that, like I said, I was not there, so this is based off of he say, she say, and what I can get off of videos. Not to go off on a rant, but they said that he didn't stop it. Someone said he made a comment. So I can't really base it off of that. I just would need cold, hard facts, because there's three sides to the story: their side, this side, and the truth. So as far as this whole like pushing for cancellation, why don't we allow all the facts to be proven, allow all the statistics, allow all the indications for everything before we try and push a narrative on somebody, just because that at a sense there was a tragedy. There was people who lost their lives at a festival, and granted, there's a 10-year-old, 11-year-old that's in critical condition in the hospital.
Well said.
I can't personally dive into this cancel culture because there's much more things to focus on, more so production, more so the people who actually had the ability to control the situation, to be like, yo, cut the cameras, or like, yo, I'm just gonna pull Travis Scott's mic so you can't hear him, because right now he's focused on too many people at one time. He don't got eagle eyes to see everything at the same time. Like, they should have had the ability to control that situation. So to be honest, I can't answer that question.
Okay. I do agree with you. I do think that it's not solely on him, but because his name is the forefront for the event, and his music and his energy telling people to mosh pit and do all that extra stuff and actually hyping the crowd back up, it fed into it, and it's the reason why he's getting blamed. I'm not pointing the finger at him specifically. I will say I think he handled it as to a certain extent. It's like there's so many people. He probably didn't see like these people. I guarantee he didn't see the people that were obviously, mistakenly passed out but really dead in the crowd of all these people. You got lights everywhere. You're performing. I get that. But everybody on his production team, which I don't know yet or whatever, all those people need to lose their job, because there's videos that people are literally like, somebody's dead in the crowd and they're shooing the people down and
Yeah,
off. And it's like, why would I lie about somebody being dead? I just climbed
exactly.
this whole thing to get your attention and show you. But I will say there was a lot somewhere down the line. These people were also told not to stop the show for any reason, because a logical person would stop the show. But a lot of times, you know, in these type of things, and not just, you know, I think there's a lot of people over Travis that had to do with the workers, and they have different direct management. But the whole fucking anybody involved in the Astroworld should have lost their job.
Yeah,
That,
I
as
mean,
far
there's
as
a
like
lot of
the main
accountability that,
production team.
yeah, there's a lot of accountability that should be spread through. Honestly,
Right, but I will
the
say the
people,
reason why,
mhm,
you know, Travis is getting the blame is because it's his concerts, his name, whatever. You know, a
yeah,
lot of times the boss or the big name is always going to have to take the L, always,
of
because
course. I mean, the
your
face of your
image
franchise.
is everything, right?
Yeah,
But I do think that his apology video, whatever publicity stunt he tried to do on his
yeah,
story, was that's what made him shitty.
yeah. It's
That
just,
shit was insensitive. I don't care.
Yeah,
Let me finish. That shit was insensitive. Like that shit was insensitive as fuck. It did not did like there was no reason. If you're not gonna be completely genuine, just don't do it at all. And I mean, I don't know if he's being genuine, but he did not seem like it. And it's like, I mean, a million people having the same opinion on whether you seem genuine or not. It's kind of like you
hmm,
probably do seem ingenuine.
hmm. No,
And it's like
I,
a little
mhm,
kid is basically losing their life right now, a child, which I think their parents are to blame for that, because that child should have
okay.
never been caught like in the middle of it at the age, I think he's what, 9. Like,
Yeah,
what
I
the
think
fuck
he
are you
was
doing
10
there
or
put in
9.
that
Yeah,
situation? But nonetheless, um people go to those concerts and they know it's going to be mosh pit. They know it's going to be crazy. You prep yourself for things like that. And it is hard for the paramedics to get through the crowd and do all that. That's why it would be helpful if production would have had a more humane attitude towards everything versus, you know, keeping the show going. But I do think that
hmm,
I was about to call him Tyler. Travis getting on his IG like story and being like, "Oh man, those people that lost their lives." It just was like, bro,
hmm.
my bad. I forgot to call you back. I was just so busy. Like, what?
Yeah,
I didn't
yeah.
see
It
your
was really
text
forced.
for 13 hours. I didn't know you needed something.
No,
Like,
that's
that's the same
insane.
way when people do the empty, if you need anything, call me. I'm always there for you. But when you call them and you need something, they ain't got shit for you. That was the same energy it gave off to me. So I don't think, you know, whatever about the can't, I'm gonna listen to his music regardless, but I do think it did show his character from the video
Yeah.
as a
It was,
person,
yeah.
period. Like,
That whole thing was fucking. It was just insane. I mean, I'm not gonna touch base on whether, you know, kids being at festivals. Honestly, it sucks because there's a battle between kids should be allowed to see their favorite artist too, especially when he implemented himself into a platform that's predominantly kids. Fortnite, you know what I'm saying? They all went to his virtual, concert. They dropped emotes and everything. He caters to more than 27-year-olds and everything that's followed him throughout his dynamic career. But he catered to a generation younger than us that a plethora of them also support Travis Scott beyond measures of ourselves. We support in such a minuscule way compared to all these kids that continuously want to be in his merch, who want to use his skin on these games and stuff. So, like I said, I don't want to touch base on that too much because it's just, yeah, you should be able to see your artist, and at the same time, it's like, yeah, that's a lot of people, so maybe you shouldn't put yourself in a position where you're surrounded by too many people. So it's unfortunate, but
Hmm.
it's just it's a real gray area right now with everything. Like my main focus is just I would like for everyone to be able to come together and help those, and be able to support the families and do exactly what you're supposed to when tragedy happens. Take ownership of the situation. You know what I'm saying? Ignore the fact of being canceled, but just do your due diligence as a human being. Be empathetic for the fact that there is lives that were taken. And honestly, fuck all them fucking people that actually trampled them and felt them beneath your feet and did not give a fuck. Like, if you can go home and know that you did that for the show to be canceled, like, you're a fucking idiot. It was not that serious. You weren't gonna get anywhere fucking close to him anyways.
You would
So
have
if
They're
thought.
anything,
kids.
yeah. And if anything, they talking about blood on Travis Scott's hands, whatever. Y'all can say what the fuck you want, but literally, there was blood on your shoes, my nigga. You stepped
Yeah, well,
upon,
I
like,
wasn't a fan of. I'll finish there.
yeah, no, it's all good, man. Honestly, I don't really have much to say on it. Like I said, I wasn't there. I said my piece.
I just wasn't a fan of like the conspiracy theories and all the Satanism shit. And it
No.
goes back to, which is why I created that like analogy earlier to go into this conversation. It's just like, yo, do your due diligence and like really, even if you don't understand what's going on, read, bro. Like read the room, read the situation, read about everything going on in order to form your own opinion as opposed to just spewing what other people were saying. Cause that shit was exhausting, bro. Cause not only on top, what gets me mad is that whenever these like mass casualty situations happen, there's always some sort of conspiracy. Always. It can never be like face value. People that don't understand or have never been to a festival, especially an all-day festival that you literally wait 12 plus hours
To see an
for
artist.
for the headliner to come out. Keep in mind, before you're probably drinking, you're probably like doing some sort of drugs, whatever the case is. Even if you're a young kid, like the 10, 11-year-old, you're still in that situation. You're most likely very much like parched, you're dehydrated, you're fucking tired, your legs hurt. There's so much that goes into being in those big fucking crowds, especially like at Astroworld, right? So it makes sense being in that sort of environment. You're not your best version of you. You're this close together. And, you know, as you said before, at Travis shows, you mosh, bro. Like you go crazy. So it's easy to see people will pass out, get trampled. It's happened before. But just the fact that, as Jay said earlier, there were individuals that weren't courteous to others, because it's my knowledge and other cultures, whether it's EDC, whatever the case is.
You pick
I've even
people
seen
up
it
when
at
they
rap.
call.
Yeah, I've seen it at
Right.
rap concerts too, where they're like, listen, you support the person next to you. So we can all go home. We're going to have a good time. But at the end of the day, support. So just the fact that those individuals didn't get that part. They have videos of these people trying to cart these people who like fell over down, and they're fucking dancing, jumping on top of the fucking cart. They can't get through because nobody's parting the seat for them. Nobody's holding them down. It's unfortunate, bro. It's unfortunate.
They bred
But
the evil that day.
but that's the thing. The people go straight to the conspiracy theories as opposed to like looking at it from a top down view and being like, oh, I can understand why. Oh, why didn't Travis stop it? Like you said, and I'm not vouching for him, but it's just me, you know, working these events before and understanding how chaotic the events that we've thrown that have had just a couple thousand people have been compared to Astroworld, which is a couple 100,000. I can imagine it's exponentially more difficult to get the artist's like attention, because apparently there are videos of him stopping the show the day of, like, yo, make sure he's good. He's done that before in the past as well. That he'll stop the show, make sure the people in the crowd are good, and you continue going. I think it's just a combination of the people not having no fucking sense and Live Nation, who's the people they did the Astroworld in conjunction with, them not getting competent enough medical staff and police officers to be able to handle that sort of situation, because they obviously were way in too deep, bro. Like they didn't have enough staff on there to hold everybody down, and it was just a fucking tragedy waiting to happen. And unfortunately, it happened on the first day of Astroworld. You know what I mean?
Either way, I hope they do hold accountability for most of the situation that happened, and I hope, you know, I pray for the families. And it's highly unfortunate, and I'm only speaking from a person where I watch people go through a lot of shit and for 12 and a half hours out of my day. So it's, like I said, it's a big gray area. I won't speak too much on it. It's highly unfortunate that was the turnaround for everything that happened that day. So
Oh, man, I just
Okay.
realized I muted myself. Hello, but
Nah,
nah,
you good.
yeah, man, it's unfortunate. Another girl passed away today. Apparently, she was I'm sure y'all seen the video of them like taking this young lady out, and they literally drop her on her fucking neck.
I
Apparently,
didn't see that video.
yeah. So the story is apparently she fainted within like the pit, like a little bit, pretty close to the stage, not too close, but it's there.
Damn.
And the word is that even her collapsing, it took security like 20 minutes just to get to her. They're trying to give her CPR. They don't know even how to fucking do CPR shit like that. So the police officers finally grab her. They put her on like one of those backboard things that's kind of like a stretcher,
Hmm.
and they
Yeah.
move her over one of the barriers. And as they're moving, they have nobody to support her head on this side. So once the backboard
It just
passes the rail, she just falls. And she
wow.
literally, like, if this is her head bends under her like sternum. She bends under like that.
Yeah, and when you're passed
Wow.
out, your body's just going.
It's over. It's over. So
Hmm.
her whole neck bent that way. Apparently, she was in the hospital. She was brain dead, and they took her off life support today. So she's the ninth victim
Yo.
uh, that passed away due to injuries because of this situation.
Yeah,
And
Hmm.
if
I
y'all
didn't hear
like,
that shit, bro.
I'm not gonna send y'all the video because it's crazy. Like, if you want to do it, you can do your due diligence. You and whoever's listening, but it's flagrant. I see Live Nation losing a lot of money. They might go bankrupt because of this shit. And keep
Hmm.
in mind, they're one of the
No,
biggest
100%.
It
like
was
show
mainly the
promoters in the
productions,
game.
like, or as a team, I feel like fault. I
Right.
don't think
But
that Travis was gonna see them. I more so fault him for his back reaction. I think he could have held it for himself
yeah,
because he dug a
but
hole. But I
like
will
you
say,
said,
I do think production was responsible.
because of his name and the quality of his shows and how like everybody rages there, people are gonna
Hmm.
use all that against him. So he's also gonna lose a lot in the
Yeah,
situation. And that's
Yeah.
something that he's gonna
it
have to hold on
sucks.
his conscience forever because this isn't like people got injured. Yeah, people died at your show,
And
bro.
it's kids, like it's
Yeah.
all
Kids,
young people.
thank you.
Mhm.
Children died at your fucking show. So I can't imagine what kind of like toll that brings on you as an artist who's one of your main goals is to provide to your fan base, the fans that really hold you down and allow you to live the life that you live. And 8 people died while you were
There,
doing your
and
thing on
now people are
stage.
in
You
the
feel me?
hospital.
Yeah. And I know ever since it happened, he's going through the what ifs, bro. Because apparently they had a whole after party at like Dave and Buster's. They went to the strip. They did
Swear?
all this shit. Yeah, because apparently
Well,
they didn't know.
no one really knew who
Nah.
people were dead until
They
the
had to have
crowd was like
known.
cleared.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, they would have to have known the amount of paramedics. From what I have seen, like I said, mate, that's the crazy thing is because from the outside looking in, yeah, I see there was a lot of paramedics. There's a lot of resuscitation going on. There's this one dude who goes to these events. He's always wearing scrubs. I forget his name. He's known to be at like even
Who are
Rolling
scrubs?
Loud always be bringing him. This white dude who wears a mask all the time, is in scrubs, always crowd surfing. Granted, like just being one of those like influencers and a figure when he was like, yo, this isn't drug induced, this isn't anything, this is like people getting trampled, like this shit needs to stop. And I was like, yo, that shit is crazy, that shit
Hmm.
is insane. But I
Honestly,
don't even
mosh
know.
pitting is dangerous. Like, period. Mosh
And
pitting is dangerous in the club. Like,
yeah, and I mean,
it's just
I
a
went
dangerous
to
thing to do. So I feel like now, moving forward, just in general, I think that this is gonna change how festivals are allowed to behave as far as that goes too.
yeah, but that's crazy though to say because way back when people were moshing to heavy metal.
That's what I'm
People were
saying.
like
Just
literally,
concerts in general.
yeah. It's weird. I mean, like I
I've
said,
never
it's
been a
just a
fan of
real.
moshing. I feel like
Yeah,
it's too much.
I've only moshed one time. We
I
went
can't even
to.
imagine you moshing.
Not
Yeah,
really.
Jay.
I honestly didn't enjoy it because I noticed who were the ones to do it, and when you realize the crowd around you, that's when I was like deterred from doing it because I'm like, yo, like I'm enjoying. Like I was listening to the artist. Like this music is definitely like rage worthy. It's like you get this adrenaline rush and shit just be happening. But you know, me just being that observing individual, like maybe a minute or 2 minutes into it, not even fully going, I was just like, you notice it's like kids around you. It's not really like full on adults trying to mosh. It's like these teenagers that just come out here that truly support it, that don't give a fuck. And that's the same people that did not give a fuck that were surging through the crowd.
Yeah.
And that's when I
It's
was
very
like,
careless.
yeah, and you know, they don't go home. It's crazy to say. I don't even think they got a guilty conscience on them. They're like, yo, man, like they shouldn't have been there. Fuck them. Da 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 da. Like, bro, but you're the one that stepped on it. You know what else I found
Right.
real crazy too? It's just like this is the reason why I can't fall into suit with this culture is the fact that I saw something where somebody was there and was partaking and didn't care about anything, and then when everyone just jumped on this whole like, they just jumped on the wagon to say shit, to be in the know and get a lot of likes. Like, yo, you should have cut that shit off. And I seen under a comment like, you wasn't saying that when you were there and didn't give a fuck. And I was like, oh, that's interesting. So it's really like I said, it's just doing your research.
It's pointing the finger.
Yeah, but then it's like you partake in it, didn't care until like everyone started, you know, saying something about it, and then since you were there, you saying something about it, but you didn't care when it was happening next to you. You didn't care enough to pick the person up. You didn't care enough to help the person and show like, yo, this person's like really fucked up. Why don't we as a group just get them out of here? Because we're a whole lot of bodies to a whole lot of officials. You feel me? But no.
But imagine you think like that's a logical and excuse me if we have any young listeners, but that is a logical adult way to think. Do you think these teenage kids or, whatever, however old they were, are really thinking like that? Like as a kid, did you really think about, you might have, because I was raised to treat people nicely and look out for people, but I'm not like a mosher type person either, because I know when you're moshing and you're pushing people, you can literally hurt people. I've gotten hit from a mosh pit and I don't mosh. I'd be on like the outskirt and I've gotten hit in my head with that shit. And I'm like, bro, chill out. Like, what the fuck? Yeah. And the guy literally looked at me and was like, move. What?
Yeah, because when you're in that situation, right now, you gotta know, you know what you're getting yourself into, you know what I mean?
Yeah, but it's like,
and it's
bro, what the fuck?
You know?
They're not like trying to kind of make a kid be logical about that shit or think ahead, like you're hurting people, when honestly the idea of moshing is to hurt whoever's around you, really. Yeah. You guys are just all acting like idiots and pushing each other and hurting each other. That's the goal of mosh. I don't know what the fuck, why somebody created that type of dance, but whatever. You're not thinking like, oh my God, when the person falls, they gonna step on you. Like, I'm gonna step on you, because that's what the mosh culture is I don't give a fuck if you're in the way, move the fuck out the way, whatever. So that's
but listen, but that's why they form those sort of like camaraderie type things within the festivals, because they're too big. You feel me? In a regular setting, maybe, you know what I mean, but the festivals are too big. That's why you try to look after the
you
people
gotta pick somebody up when
with,
you hit them, or when you're like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, they're not gonna do that too, especially when,
they're not thinking that because they're kids.
They just want to rage with their favorite
artists.
They just want to
rage with their friends and have fun and whatever. They don't realize you're killing people.
That little kid didn't deserve to be in a situation like that, and he should be given the ability to see his favorite artist. But at the same time, it's I'm just gonna stop talking about it. It's so
also Houston PD, bro. Like Houston PD, they're the ones that dropped that young lady on her head, the one that I said passed away earlier. Also, the misinformation, because I guess the chief of police first came out. He's like, yeah, one of our guys came out.
Oh yeah.
He felt a prick in the neck. And then he went to the medical assistants there, and they looked at him. They had to give him like something in order to like bring him back, whatever. They're like, yeah, he was showing signs that he really got pricked by something. They were trying to say that someone was going around drugging people, like injecting people. And
that's why people are dying.
Yeah. And then fast forward to today, they finally came out with a report. No, that didn't happen. Sorry. We gave y'all a false report.
It's fake news, bro. That shit
fake news, bro. Like running with shit. You don't have evidence, and I understand in the moment you're not gonna have all the like the evidence all the goings on, but at
Which
the
you're
end of the
supposed to
day,
hold
it's
off
super
then.
irresponsible
Yeah.
to say something like that. Because as soon as homeboy said that, I was like, that sounds wild.
That
You know
sounds
what I
like
mean?
they're reaching.
That
I
sounds
always go
wild.
straight to the comments because somebody will be like, "Yo, I was there. That's not the case. That's cap.
Right.
Be careful." And I was just like, "Yeah, like I said, I wasn't there. I
mean, none of
I'm
us were
just
there.
letting.
You,
Yeah,
like,
I know I have friends who have went there, and honestly, I
yeah,
was
there's
just more
3
so
of us.
worried.
None of us were there. I
What's
wasn't
that?
there. Kelly wasn't there. You weren't there.
Yeah,
None of us.
yeah. No, I'm speaking on my friends who were actually there because they've from what they know, from what they've heard, and all the stuff going on. I'm just basing it off of if I could get any information from someone who was there. And honestly, at the whole point of that whole thing, I was just making sure that the people we care about are home and safe. And then, then all of that stuff happened. So honestly, coming from where I come from, I just feel really bad that there was people that have lost their lives that shouldn't have lost their lives. Seeing the artists that they care about, regardless of any situation, I don't really care what anybody really got to say. Everyone's entitled to how they perceive things. That's why we have difference of opinions, as long as we're not insensitive to the fact that people have passed away. And we should
Facts.
show
I think
some
that's the big
empathy.
point. Like,
Yeah,
niggas lost their life. It was
yeah,
that ain't you don't get that back.
Kids, like you said, kids.
Yeah,
yeah,
kids. Like you
yeah.
don't get that back,
Especially
and you
that.
never
That I
will.
think that hit me harder than anything because I recently had an experience of seeing carelessness of a child, and the result is what we believe it is. So yeah, that's that.
I
Well,
personally
I'm
moved
sure.
to preventing moshes in big crowds like that, and not it's something that like you can't get immediate like medical care to if something happens. Like you said, Kelly, that's a huge crowd. It's almost impossible unless you have people in the corner on standby, ready, and that's what they should have been. Live Nation was ill prepared for a crowd that mosh pits because you should have had literally paramedics and officers in front row ready to go from that angle, people on each side, people from the back, and people in the middle.
Yeah. That's
Like,
why, like, I'll say this and then we'll wrap it up. But today, I don't remember what news outlet it was, but they interviewed one of the security guards that was contracted to work it by Live Nation. And he was like, listen, he said exactly what we're saying. They were ill prepared. All the steps that you're supposed to take before you get in that position, they didn't put them through it. They basically, it's like saying, yo, Jay, like you look like you can handle some people. Can you work this event for me? And you're like, I guess. And then you pull up, not having no security background. You know what I mean?
And that's
And
exactly why
then
they need to be held accountable.
and then apparently
right.
behind the scenes, like they didn't sign no contract, no nothing. He was like, yo, they just told me they will pay me by Cash App. Them motherfuckers going bankrupt. They gonna get sued to the ground. Goodbye, Live Nation.
Yeah,
Yeah,
damn.
that's right.
And they
Nah.
should. They should. And Travis Scott, like we said before, we'll see how it works out with him. Unfortunately, he's the face of all this. But, when you portray a certain, like you're ragers, like your guy's supposed to do all this shit, even though he tried his best, to my knowledge, whenever he had a live show to make sure everybody was good, you have to take some sort of accountability on his side.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So he's not completely faultless in my eyes.
No, of course not.
So we'll see what happens as this continues to go on. But yeah, like prayers to everybody that was affected, of course, people who are injured, and of course the families that lost a little baby, man. You know what I mean? Because all these, it was like, I think most of them were, I think the oldest was like 27, youngest as well, like you said, like 9, 11 type situation.
Like 9.
So prayers out to them, man. Horrible, bro.
Yeah, and shout out to Roddy Ricch, man. It didn't take him no time to say like he's willing to do.
Roddy
anything.
handled it how he needed to.
He
Roddy
was the very first one in the amount of time, even when all this shit was. He was just like, "Yo, I got
keep
you
my money.
if you need me."
Go back.
Yeah, and I was just like, "Damn!" And then we got this half-ass apology. All this like the PRs were writing the whole public an apology, and that's what we.
Even Drake, you saw Drake's little. I've been reflecting on the past couple days. I'm like, yo, bro, like you could definitely do a lot more if you wanted to. You feel me?
Yeah, and you have one of the biggest revenues as an artist. As a, I'm not even gonna get into it. Man.
But
it
all stands to the point I was trying to make. It's how the way that you act or portray yourself says a lot about your character. Like
Yeah.
Just ridiculous.
Look at this motherfucker. All right, we're gonna end it right there, man, before we get even more tight. Episode 153 coming to an end, man. We're gonna highlight you on the next one. We got new Silk Sonic tonight, so I'm super excited to hear Bruno Mars and Anderson .Paak sang their asses off. Next week we're gonna talk about how Nisa hates the Summer Walker album because we
Oh my
weren't able
God,
to get
yes.
there. So we'll discuss that and more coming episode 154 in your area soon enough. We're gonna holla at y'all.
You know the vibes. Peace.